once in a lifetime a real hero comes along. A man who takes the spirit of the Wild West and tells it how it is. Well, that person isn't our next act, but he sure tried to live it.
New Jersey, the Essex of America, is a strange place for rock's best-loved cowboy to come from. This part of the US is more Goodfellas than gunfight at the OK Corral. Bon Jovi, a second-generation Italian, didn't learn his guitar slinging in the Wild West. Back home, John had family.
My family comes from Sicily, and we don't believe in having someone sign a contract. Our word is our bond.
You know what? My sister's coming in tonight. Why don't you have her stop at your house and pick it up on the way in?
Bon Jovi's auntie and uncle had a son, John's cousin, Tony Bon Jovi.
That's right.
He's a top record producer.
My son was responsible for what John is today.
Well, that's what they claim. But the family knew Tony was the man to help. As a top New York record producer, he'd helped produce Talking Heads, Gloria Gaynor, The Stones, and Springsteen.
I was determined to honor my father's wishes by putting everything I had behind developing John as an artist.
My wife did his laundry. I mean, it was just one happy family. That's all we were.
Supplied him with expenses and singing lessons and clothes and musicians and recording sessions and all of those things that are necessary to develop an artist. I was looking for anything in any way to get him signed. It was very difficult to get John Bon Jovi signed to a major recording contract.
In the end, John turned to the dark side of pop.
John's first commercial vocals were on the Star Wars Christmas album.
And if the snow becomes too deep, just give a little beat.
That's right, John Bon Jovi's first ever vocals were on the Star Wars Christmas album.
Spreading Christmas cheer will be easy with you here.
One can only speculate about what the sessions could have been like. The sleeve notes claim that it was recorded with John and the original cast.
What? The Quaver converter isn't complete yet.
Sadly, R2 and John split over musical differences. In 1985, John went his own way without cousin Tony. He got a record deal, and his debut album exploded. Some critics laughed until the wee ran down their legs, but John became a sensation.
Even though probably his heroes are Springsteen and Tom Petty and people like that, he's pure pop.
Seeing Bon Jovi for the first time was a great shock. There were a few bands around that started to look like that. And in fact, I mean, they weren't the first, but they seemed to do it a bit better.
I think for a lot of people, Bon Jovi sort of represents the most like pop, feathered hair, light metal. The fact is, they wrote some tremendously strong pop songs.
I mean, what happened to metal being like, yeah, you were scowling, it was angry, it was aggressive. All of a sudden, Bon Jovi shows up with nice dental work, and everybody else got to show their grill now. It was like,
what do you think of the image of John?
We gotta hold on to what we got.
But the John Bon Jovi syndicate weren't happy just being megastars. In a strange echo of his own past, John and writing partner Richie Sambora decided to use their power and money to develop a new band of their own, turning unknowns into superstars.
John adopted this young New Jersey band called Skid Row. He set up a publishing deal whereby he gave Skid Row a big break, took them on tours, got them a record deal, but he kept a large proportion, if not all, of their royalties.
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about Jon Bon Jovi because I signed a gag order that he gave to me in 1991, which is to do with business, but I'm not legally allowed to speak about him.
Bon Jovi and Sambora poured a lot of money into Skid Row, but when Bark & Co. started selling millions, disputes arose. Jon Bon Jovi says he barely recouped his investment. Skid Row, well, they can't say anything.
The word got around, and eventually Richie Sambora, his guitar and writing partner, did give his royalties back, but it didn't do Skid Row any favours in the long run.
In truth, they entered an agreement and he's entitled to it.
No, I could give a shit less, actually.
Cowboy turned accountant Bon Jovi can still round up the audiences. Musical changes have kept sales in the tens of millions, and now a career in acting keeps John in the superstar league.
Action.
Sometimes you seem so cold, it's like I don't even know you.
Maybe you don't. Maybe there's nothing to know.
The fact that he's enjoyed the amount of success that he has, it lends credence to the fact that, well, I did a good job and I picked the right person.
What I think about him, I'm trying to be a lady.
I wouldn't call Jon Bon Jovi an American hero. Am I gonna go to jail for saying that, or what?
Merry Christmas, R2! R2, we love
you. Picture this. You're the inspiration for 1 million guitarists, perhaps being the greatest rock guitarist that ever lived, and then being remembered for one thing.
Van Halen had a massive impact because you had a guitar player, Eddie Van Halen, who was doing things that no one had ever really heard on a guitar before.
The difference between David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen is that one was a musician and one was a showman.
Most bands are lucky to have one superstar. Van Halen had two. Guitar maestro Edward Van Halen, who lent his name to the band, and singer David Lee Roth.
I get up and nothing gets me down.
By the way, loitering in the background here, bass player and knitwear fan Michael Anthony, and Eddie's brother Alex on drums.
And I know, baby, just how you feel.
While most people know Van Halen for their biggest hit Jump from 1984, real fans will know that their 1978 debut album shook rock out of a rut.
They came along and were, by contrast, were completely different from the Led Zeppelins and Black Sabbaths.
Bands like Zeppelin and Deep Purple had given their guitarists showcases, but no one had ever done one as fast and as exciting as Eddie Van Halen had played it.
His unique style made a whole generation of single men pick up the guitar, whether the guitars actually existed or not. Of course, some people caught on later than others.
When they played Donington in 1984, he was backstage and he was doing kind of press-ups in the middle of the backstage area, just kind of warming up for his kind of performance on stage. It was like watching Muhammad Ali about to go into the ring.
He did martial arts and he could literally almost fly through the air. I mean, it was unbelievable.
David Lee Roth was this fantastic character who was often seen with 2 bottles of Jack and a dwarf. Now that's what you want to see in your rock and roll frontman.
Above Jimmy Page, above Mick Jagger, above whoever you would care to name. David Lee Roth was undoubtedly the most over-the-top, larger-than-life rock star you could ever hope to meet.
I don't think sleazy lifestyle is any kind of a distraction. I think that's the rule rather than the exception.
Here's my sack of cocaine, and here's my other sack of grass, and here's my crate of Jack Daniels, and did you notice the naked dancing girls as you came in? You know, and I was like, actually I did, yes.
Can you get that on there? Can you make out what that is? These are pants that were made all from bits and pieces of women's underwear that were thrown on stage during the prior tour. We try and get as close to the heart of the fans or whatever part of their anatomy that we can.
But although Eddie Van Halen was the muso's choice, even playing on Michael Jackson's Thriller album, he was becoming increasingly anonymous, overshadowed by lead singer Diamond Dave. A rock legend was his demand for bowls of M&Ms backstage at every gig, with the brown ones taken out. The two egos were fighting for the limelight.
Eddie could walk down the street and he wouldn't know who the hell he was. Roth would walk in the restaurant and it was like Elvis Presley had just walked in. You know, everybody in America knew who he was.
In 1984, an album called 1984 went stratospheric worldwide. They had everything, but David Lee Roth quit the band.
The personalities became so outsized in Van Halen that there was just nowhere left for them to go.
The first time they had a major argument, instead of like, look, come on, let's just be really sensible about this. We've got something really good going. Let's not blow it. I've got 20 million, you've got 20 million, so fuck you, and fuck you. I'm off.
Bette Midler lookalike Sammy Hagar replaced him. America, besotted with David Lee Roth, couldn't believe that the band would survive without him.
Who could replace David Lee Roth? There was no point trying.
If you'd had any money at all, you'd have bet it all on Dave being the one that was going to stay a major star, and Van Halen would drift off into worthiness.
Hey, another spectacularly captivating world premiere video!
Ironically, the reverse happened.
Live on Dave TV!
America were just sick to death of the whole charade. Dave had become a parody. It was like, I've heard that joke. Okay, we've had enough now.
While Dave became the Gary Barlow of Van Halen, Eddie's new lineup just couldn't miss. They were even the US Air Force pilots' choice of music for their Gulf War bombing raids. And yet to this day, rumours of attempts to get Dave back in Van Halen continue.
It's hard to overestimate actually what Van Halen did for rock, because they kind of took it to different levels from the musicianship point of view and from the showmanship point of view with David Lee Roth.
The respect that history will accord will be to that moment where David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen were able to work together and were able to create the sort of energy that they created.
They should get David Lee Roth back and just grin and bear it, you know?
It's got what it takes. So tell me why can't this be love?
Imagine being in the biggest band in the world and then just tearing it apart and vanishing for 5 years. And counting.
It was a real rock and roll band. It wasn't contrived in any way.
The years that we were touring with Guns N' Roses, my nose still hurts thinking about it.
Throughout the whole thing, we played for ourselves.
I mean, we have our bad habits, but, you know, for the most part, I don't think we were that scary.
Our music comes first.
Guns were an unlikely combination. William Axl Rose had come from the Midwest to find his fortune with best friend and guitarist Izzy Stradlin. Guitar genius Slash, originally from Stoke-on-Trent, soon found them. LA hair rocker Steven Adler played drums, and a punk from Seattle, Duff McKagan, completed this raggedy-arsed bunch.
The first time we played, there was something. You could feel it immediately. There was like this electricity.
It wasn't long before Guns conquered the Los Angeles club scene, and the record companies embarked on a frenzied chase to sign them, much to their delight.
We decided when the bidding war started that we would just lead everybody on. We'd just keep getting free lunch every day.
And to us it was great. It's like free lunch. We were poor, man. We were dirt poor.
You know, a couple of us had like these sort of little drug dependency things. So we had like free petty cash when we could get it. 10 companies thinking that we were going to sign with them when we were already set with one.
Out of the blagging and the partying, Appetite for Destruction was recorded and changed musical history.
A lot of it reminded people of Aerosmith when it first came out. People said the Stones as well. But if you roll bands like Aerosmith and Stones together, you're coming up with something very special indeed. It was an awesome record.
Welcome to the jungle. We take it day by day. If you want it, you're gonna bleed, but it's the price you pay.
The album started to sell slowly and took a year to reach number one. But when it hit the top spot, the Guns phenomenon exploded and the rock and roll lifestyle kicked in. Drummer Steven Adler was the first to burn out.
Steven Adler, the original drummer, had quite a drug problem, and the rest of the band was going pretty hard too, you know. So I used to describe it as like walking into an opium den. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Little rock, little sex, little, you know.
There's nothing better.
The combo platter's nice, you know.
And we were just out of control.
Dump your shit, you know, the feds are here.
I mean, I've been all through the United States. I just don't remember it.
Madness surrounded the band and Axl seemed to retreat from the others. Something had to blow. It happened in St. Louis with an incident that became one of the most expensive and bloody in rock history.
Police stopped just short of using tear gas to control the crowd of about 20,000 rowdy fans.
This guy from the audience started taking pictures of him. Axl Rose got mad because he didn't want the guy taking pictures of him. So he jumped out in the audience, started beating up the guy.
Early reports are that he used profanity and insulted the audience. And he then turned the audience into a mob.
They destroyed all our fucking equipment.
Riot squad came in. There was about 600 police officers and, you know, tear gas and the whole bit, man.
Nothing shocks me that shocked me. I've got a videotape of the whole thing, and I've never been able to watch it from end to end.
It was kind of scary, you know. It was like, well, this is getting a little out of hand. We had a couple of those.
I mean, St. Louis, by right, is an awesome rock and roll town. You know, it really is.
Band members thought Axl seemed isolated by success. He even appeared to be coming to gigs straight from swimming practice.
Axl was crazy and angry and just bitching at absolutely everything in the world.
Axl's attitude came to dominate the band.
We played with them at Nassau Coliseum, and we opened up, and we were only booked for a 45-minute show. And at the end of the set, Guns N' Roses manager's looking at us going, keep going, keep going. I go, we did all our songs. We only got 2 records. We're up there for 2 hours, and the crowd doesn't know what's going on. We come off stage finally. And Axl's not even in the building. By midnight, he's still not there. Everybody's freaking out. The whole place is almost falling down. He's not even in the building. And I look down the hallway and there's this big commotion going on. And I look and it's Stephanie Seymour, the model, holding hands with Axl, and he's walking down the hall like nothing happened. And I go, dude, where were you? He goes, I was taking a shower. I was like, okay.
And it was his vision to turn Guns into a band with more than just hard rock to their name, that would spawn something so big it would destroy them. 2 double albums, released on the same day, became the biggest, fastest selling rock albums in history.
Axl really wanted to see how far we could take the tour. We really were on a mission to sell as many records as we possibly could. He wanted to break 35 million on Use Your Illusions worldwide. And we were at about 32 million. And I remember all of us looking at each other going, man, you know, this has got to stop soon, because we were all feeling pretty beat.
We got off that tour, I woke up one morning and I kind of hurt, you know, and then going from kind of hurt to I can't move or even dial 911, you know. And luckily a friend of mine came over to my house and I heard him downstairs. He's, hey, where are you? And he came upstairs and he said, fuck, finally happened. So my pancreas had burst.
And they dropped me off and they said, okay, so that's that. I was like, now what?
For Axl, it was distrust of the band and a desire to change Guns further. An album of punk covers slipped out, but it was over.
Where do we go now? Where do we go?
I mean, my joke on my radio show was that he's kicked everybody out of the band. He tried to kick himself out, but he wouldn't leave.
The band split, and Axl only surfaced once in 5 years. An arrest in '98 for public disturbance at Phoenix Airport. This year, he'll be back with the Guns N' Roses lineup of hired hands.
There's a lot of very loyal fans out there that think that Guns is not Guns without the original members that started it and so on and so forth, and I can understand that.
I don't know if I would be comfortable watching other guys play, you know, Sweet Child of Mine. I don't know how that's going to come off. But he seems to know what he's doing. It's taken him a while. But I hope it works out for him.
I really have no regrets, you know. I don't think I ever will.
More carnage to come after these messages.